How are you guys this morning? All right. Um, yeah, we're gonna use this one. So I'm excited to be here. My name's Greg. I'm the student pastor, and I've got Ashley here. In just a second, I'm gonna give Ashley an opportunity to kind of introduce herself. But to make that to kind of break the ice, I've got a scenario for you. All right, are you ready? Okay. Yeah, microphone. Do that. Okay, so Ashley, the town of Tuttle is being destroyed as we speak, and all of a sudden you learn that if you say a couple of magic words, you repeat this phrase, you could become a superhero and have any power that you want. So, what power would you choose and why?
I would fly
Flying, okay.
to get up out of here. I'll take people with me, but to get out of here.
Oh, to flee.
Yes.
So you're not gonna like help anyone. You're just gonna.
I
You're
said I take people with me. They can come with me, but I'm going.
okay. Wow, you're not a good
Well.
superhero.
No.
The whole.
I'm taking people with me though.
Okay. All right. Well, as I said, I'm the youth minister, so we're gonna play a game, and I like playing games every Wednesday night before we do anything. We literally have an announcement time, and then we play a couple of games. So you want to play a game with me?
Yes.
All right, great. Because I've got this awesome game. It is called 3-Year-Old Pictionary, and I'm going to give you an eraser right there. So what's going to happen is there's going to be a picture on the screen, and there's going to be 3 choices to choose from. You have to guess what the 3-year-old drew. So here we go. A 3-horned goat. You see the picture. 3-horned goat. Grand dark lizard, king of the north. A dancing gecko. I am definitely going with B. So you're with C. All right, what do we got? C, look at that. You're up. 1-0. Okay. You beat me in first service too, so I must just really be terrible at this game. I don't have a 3-year-old right now. That's why. Okay, well. Okay. A friendly centipede, a superhero cat fighting bad guys, the coronavirus strain. Okay. What are you thinking? I'm sticking with B. Superhero cat fighting bad guys. Yes, arms are fur. # art. So, all right. Here we go. Last one. Best of 3. Let's see. A petrodactyl, a dragon who's also a fireman. I don't know. Maybe a dinosaur. A rabbit relaxing in a hammock. Oh, we picked the same answer. All right, what we got? It was B. Literally, no one knows. No one knows. All right, let's wrap it up. We'll be done. We'll tie this time. You beat me the first time. Okay, good. So, Ashley, grab your microphone and real quick, tell us just like a little bit about who you are. Introduce yourself to these people as if you don't know any of them.
My name is Ashley Coulterman. I'm married to Josh Coulterman.
Ooh, love of her life.
No. No, I mean. Yes, but no. Okay. We have 5 kids. I own Warrior Nutrition. I can't even think right now.
So you own
Warrior Nutrition.
Okay.
In Anadarko.
All right.
What was the rest of the question? I'm sorry. I got sidetracked.
You're good. First, tell us who you are. So you're married to Josh. You've got 5 kids. You own a nutrition shop. Anything else you want to add to that?
Just I like to talk, but not here. Not on the stage.
Not with everybody watching.
Not with everyone watching.
Okay, well, that's all right. Listen. So here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna share a little bit of your story, and we're gonna ask questions as we go through it, and you get a chance to share your story overall with everyone. All right. So this past week, Ashley has been working pretty hard. Actually, the past 2 weeks on writing her story, and we've been meeting a couple of different times to go through that and really kind of narrow it down. What God has done in your story, and we want to share that today. And so one of the things that you shared with me is growing up, you grew up around here, you grew up in Mustang. You said life was pretty much normal. Your family would travel. Mom and dad worked hard to provide a good life. But you shared with me there was something that kind of came up when you were about 13 that kind of disrupted that life. What was that?
My parents divorced. Didn't see it coming.
So it was a total surprise for you.
Yeah.
So how did you respond to that?
Got anger, depression, self-destruction. I would put myself in situations I just wanted to cover up the pain from feeling that, because having the brokenness, to cover up the brokenness.
So some of the pain that you talked about in that time was actually, um, fear and anger, um, uncertainty, confusion. And now we think, divorce is difficult for adults to experience and go through, whether it's adult children or the husband and wife that are going through it. It's a very complex thing with a lot of different emotions. But oftentimes we look at students, teenagers, and we think, well, they're old enough to understand. And it's not that we write them off, but we kind of think like they got this. They're not 5 years old anymore. But here you are, you're 13, and you've got these feelings that you're struggling with.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of having a conversation, what did you begin doing?
I started doing drugs, drinking. I would put myself in whatever kind of crazy situation I decided to put myself in for the day. It wasn't an everyday thing at that point. I was drinking and smoking marijuana, but it wasn't a constant. It was the days I felt like I needed a little bit of help.
Okay. And you shared with me that one thing led to another, and you continued to put yourself in these situations. And one of those situations ended up causing
Mm-hmm.
a lot of pain.
Mm-hmm. Good job.
So the situation that it's pretty traumatic.
It is. It is very. It ended up being. It broke me completely.
It broke you.
Mm-hmm.
So the feelings that you already had, anger, uncertainty, fear,
Not trusting anybody.
It heightened those.
Yes.
So it was kind of like Pandora's box in a sense. Like it caused those feelings. You didn't realize the situations that you were putting yourself in, what could actually come of those. And it puts you, is it safe to say that it puts you at an even darker place in life?
Oh, yeah. Yes, it did. I did not like anybody. I didn't even like myself. I wanted to fight everybody, whether it be with my mouth or with my hands, just to keep people away from me so they didn't get to know me, or maybe even try to figure out me. I don't know.
One of the questions that I had for Ashley as she's sharing this part of her story is I'm going, okay, but like I hear you didn't trust people, but like who did you trust? Was it maybe just one person like your mom or your dad? And one of the things that you shared with me was that you had no trust for anyone.
No.
You didn't feel like anyone could help you, understand you. So tell me, going through life,
I trusted drugs.
You trusted drugs. So you put your faith in that.
Yeah.
You put your trust and your hope in that.
Mm-hmm.
What would those drugs do to you? Or why did you continue to do drugs and alcohol? What were you accomplishing with that?
Covering up my pain.
Okay.
Not having to talk about my pain. Not having to let people get to know me, who I was in the pain, I guess. Whatever.
Okay. So you were keeping everybody at arm's distance away from you. You had this shell. And then where did that lead you? You said you started out with drinking and marijuana. Where did that road take you?
So now, at this point, I have 3 kids.
Well, hold on a second.
I had the 3 kids, so.
Yeah, you hadn't gotten to the 3 kids in the story you shared.
Why.
So, let's go a few years fast forward. So you started that when you were 13. You had this traumatic experience by the age of 14, and you began to distrust and not trust anyone. And so you go just a few more years down the road. One drug led to another.
Yes, that's when yes, okay, I was going to go with that part. I just skipped it around, sorry. I would be smoking and do marijuana, or smoke marijuana, drink. Then I decided to try some meth.
Okay.
Which Before it was occasional when I felt like I needed to cover it. Meth became an everyday thing.
So your
It
drug and your
was
alcohol abuse was occasional, maybe when you needed to relax or veg
just
out,
whatever.
or had a stressful day. I'm gonna take the edge off. But meth became an everyday thing.
Yes, because it could. Oh, wow. It makes you feel like super mom. You can get all kinds of stuff done. Still don't have to think about. I know I need to turn my page probably.
No, you're fine. You're
But
fine. You keep going. You said it makes you feel like super mom, like you don't have to think about things.
you don't have to think about things, but you're not. I mean, I don't know. Even though you're spiraling out of control, completely out of control on the inside, it's okay because you're still getting stuff done. You still look productive in a way. Does that?
Yeah, well, I mean so one of the things that you shared with me was that you thought you had everyone kind of fooled, and
Yeah.
meth convinced you that you were better on meth.
Yes. Yeah.
So if you think you have everyone fooled and you think that you're accomplishing so much more with the meth, how long did this go on? How long did you spend in a phase of life where you were addicted to drugs?
About 14 years.
14
14
years.
years.
Okay,
Off and
so
on at the first and then the meth. Yeah. 14 years.
14 years. Now, throughout this 14 years, so you're about 26, 27 years old. Did your trust change? Had you developed trust in anyone? Had anyone proven that they were trustworthy in your life?
I mean, no, not really, but yes.
Okay.
I mean,
No, answer that. I mean, no, not really, but yes. What does that mean?
for me, it was my dad, which was my stepdad, but my dad.
Okay.
He was one person I tried to push away and push away and push away, and he just never went away. Sometimes it really made me mad, but wow,
So his resilience made you think that he was trustworthy, but at the same time, you weren't willing to be honest with him.
no,
Okay.
no.
So now
But
you said, oh, go ahead.
Well, I thought I was fooling people. They didn't know I was on drugs. They didn't know anything. I was just losing weight because I diet or whatever absurd reason I was saying. But can I just fast forward?
Absolutely.
Okay, sorry.
So you said fast forward.
Yes. Just
So fast forward. So we're gonna get up to this 14 years into it. You're 26, 27. What was life? What was your stage of life at this point? Because you said something earlier, like life had kind of changed for you. You had three.
I had 3 kids.
Okay.
Still spiraling out of control on the inside. Still not wanting to admit that a whole lot was wrong with me and thinking I was hiding from everybody what I was doing. Well,
How old are your kids at this point?
about 8ish, 4 and 2.
Okay.
Not 100% sure on the exact age.
All right.
I knew then I was ready to be done. I didn't know how I was going to be done, but I knew I was ready to be done.
Okay.
And I have no idea what why my mom and my dad, I think my mom was with them, I'm not really honestly sure, but my dad came over that night. I'm sure it was one of my crazy episodes, what you do when you're on meth. Came on my porch that night and told me that my kids are gone. I'm done. I need to be at their house tomorrow or my kids are gone.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Let's paint this picture for a second. What it would have been like in your moment in that time. So for the past 15 years, the better half of your life at that point, you had not trusted anyone. And you said that you kind of trusted your dad, but you didn't. But the reality was he was resilient. So you wanted to believe in him, but you were keeping him at arm's distance. And all of a sudden, he shows up. Even though he's your dad, it's still someone shows up in your life and says it's either this, the meth, the drugs, or it's your children.
Mm-hmm.
What was kind of going through your mind? What happened?
I was absolutely relieved.
You were relieved. Now, hang on. That doesn't make sense.
It does. I was ready to be done.
You were ready to
and
be done.
I was fixing to be, well, it was someone knew
Okay.
my secret, besides people who I chose to know it or who were doing the secret with me.
Okay. But you didn't think, you shared with me earlier this week, you didn't think your dad had any clue.
I did not think he had any clue.
So see, you thought the meth had convinced you that you were living life normal, that you were accomplishing and achieving all of these things, and you had everyone around you deceived. And your dad shows up, which you already had trust issues, just in general with anyone and everyone, and you're relieved.
I was just ready to be done.
You're ready to be done.
I was ready just to let it go.
So what's the next?
Drugs.
The drugs.
The drugs.
Yes.
Hang on to everything else, but the drugs, I was done.
So what's the next day look like? It's one night. Bring the kids tomorrow, or I'm coming to get them. We're gonna be done with the drugs. What happens tomorrow?
We go over there. We talk. I didn't have to take my kids with me that morning.
Okay.
They went to school. It was kind of like a promise type deal. Stop, promise, and I was ready to be done, so it was easy for me to say, yeah, I'm done.
Something that was highlighted to me this past week, real quick, share, how did you go to a rehab facility? Did you go to a methadone clinic? Like, no. How did you overcome meth?
Just stopped.
You just stopped.
15 years sober in June.
That's something to celebrate. 15 years sober, and you had the willpower to say no.
Yes.
Because you chose to be
a mom.
A mom.
At that point, a mom.
That's huge.
Better for my kids. I wanted to do better for my kids. They didn't deserve it. I knew it. And clearly, some other people knew it.
Okay, so let's recap those 15 years of life. You're 27 years old, 13, 14 years, or since the age of 13, you've struggled with trust. And even at this point, clearly you trusted your dad a little bit more because you gave up drugs at him calling you out, calling you on the carpet for it. But this kind of doesn't seem to be a struggle with Ashley that I know now. So, how did what was life like after that? I mean, was Jesus a thing after that? Like, you quit drugs and you became a Christian? Or how did that, what was life like after that?
Oh, I was still a hot mess.
Okay.
There's still times I'm a hot mess, but I knew to pray. I did not know who Jesus was. I knew to pray whenever things were bad.
Okay.
I knew that part. I still did not want people in my bubble.
Yeah. So you still kept angry, the trust was still an issue. And, Jesus was something you did when crap hit the fan.
Oh, crap moments.
Oh, crap moments. Oh, crap moments. Yeah.
Crap moments.
And so you get your head on straight as far as it's not high. You've gotten past the drugs. And one of the things that you shared with me was your kids were at an age where they began wanting to come to church, and Wednesday nights or special events, whether it was children's ministry events or youth ministry events, you would bring your children up to church and you would drop them off.
I was a drop and run parent.
Drop and run parent.
I didn't really know that phrase until this week. It's a good phrase. Yes, they would. My kids would come to the youth services. I don't know how much, but a lot. I don't know where I'm at.
So you would bring them up, drop them off, let them go to church, and come back and pick them up. And the whole time, what was kind of going through your mind every time that you walked? I didn't walk at that time, you didn't have to walk them in. Mm-hmm. So whenever you did have to walk in, because there was occasions, what was going through your mind there? Like, how did you feel? What were you wanting to do?
Turn around and go back out the door.
Okay, why was that?
Still anxious. Because I didn't want people to know me. I didn't want to come in and
so you wanted to go. You wanted to go unnoticed.
Yes.
Okay, and you're here. You're dropping your kids off. How was that car ride home when they began maybe talking about the story that they had learned or sharing with you what Jesus meant to them. Like, how did you feel as a mom dropping your kids off and then picking them up and hearing what they had experienced?
Throw me for a loop. I don't know.
Earlier this week, you answered that question. You said, I felt kind of like a hypocrite. You said, I felt kind of like, here I am throwing my kids there.
Throw my kids into church and me not doing it.
But at home, it was totally different.
Yes.
Even though it was drug-free and alcohol-free, it was still not the home that you knew it needed to be.
Right. Very
So-
true. Yeah, because you got your kids going to church. That's the life that's supposed to look like.
Okay. So on the outside, in some ways, things looked good. That was the persona that you were giving off to people. The image was that things looked good.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and you shared a little bit with me too about how you kind of began a relationship with Billy and Christy. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
I almost forgot for a minute. Little League football, second year. Corbin. Grayson and Corbin became really good friends. So then Christy and Billy and I, we would all hang out, whatever. Then Grayson started playing baseball for Billy's team. I think Billy actually said he was going to. I don't even think he asked me. I'm pretty sure he said he was going to.
Sounds like Billy.
Yes. But through all that, through the sitting at the field and at the fireworks stands, Christy asked Shelby one night, what story is that the part on?
Yeah. So
Christy had asked Shelby one night, what should we do while we're sitting out the fireworks stand? And Shelby said, let's talk about some Jesus. Now, I'm not sure if I have the accent right too, but so I don't have a clue what Shelby said outside of those words. I have no idea.
So,
I just know
but
we're going to talk about some Jesus.
Talking about Jesus, and there was an invitation in that Jesus talk, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
So here you got 5 or 6 year old Shelby, cute little girl, inviting you to church. Basically, did you go to church?
No.
Why?
I was not ready. I was nope.
You just had like a 5-year-old invite you to church, and you didn't go that Sunday.
Nope.
So okay, shortly after, you've continued to be the drop and run parent. You've dropped your children off, and you've been running. But there was a special event that was going on one particular night, a children's ministry event where parents could come in and watch their kids, and you had another interaction there. You're trying to go unnoticed. You're trying to fly under the radar, but then you kind of get cornered by a lady.
Gwen. I met Gwen that night. Again, don't remember the conversation a whole lot, but introduced ourselves, talked for a minute, met Gwen.
Okay. And so you've met a person.
I'm still not coming to church at this point.
Still not coming
I'm
to
just here
church.
for a program. I don't know what program, but a program.
Okay. You've had a conversation with Shelby. You've got this invitation. How long did you wait to take her up on that?
That's a great question. I don't know exactly. But we did take her up on it.
But it was months?
Probably, yeah.
So months later. Okay, so you take her up on it.
Mhm.
After however much time passes, you decide we're going to go to church. Think back to that first Sunday morning where you're like, hey, I'm going to go to church. What was going through your mind?
I was freaking out because I didn't have church clothes.
You didn't have church clothes.
Did not have church clothes.
Okay.
Same thing I let Satan attack me on this week about being up here.
Okay. So you didn't have church clothes. And I mean, you were freaking out so much that you decided to call Billy.
I don't even know how Billy even found out. Probably Christy, but
but you called Billy or Christy to say, I don't have church clothes, I can't go. And what'd they say?
Well, Billy, I guess Billy, he told me, he said, just show up. It doesn't matter what you wear, basically.
Okay. So
then I show up and people are in jeans and untucked shirts and I'm like, cool.
All right. People. So you kind of do look like them then.
Yeah.
You dress for church, okay? But you walk in. What were you feeling?
Anxious, out of place, scared, nervous.
All right, so let's talk about some of these feelings for a second. Why did you feel scared or anxious or nervous? I mean, it's not like you're walking into a room full of monsters or a room full of guns or a war zone. Like, why would you feel that way?
I just felt out of place. I didn't know what anything was going to be like. I mean, you can have people tell you what it's going to be like when you walk into church, but it's always going to be different than what you feel like it's going to be like that first time you walk into church.
Okay. And what do you think that your friends would have thought? Because at this time, your friends are outside of the church.
Yeah. That was a hypocrite.
That you were a hypocrite.
Yeah. That I was going to church, but knowing my past, like, just that.
You felt labeled.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, maybe I labeled myself. I don't. Pretty sure I probably did.
But you were kind of, it sounds like to me that you were kind of in this place where you were fearful of being judged by your peers, but you're also fearful of being judged by the people in the church. And so you simply wouldn't go at all. You were, in some ways, if we peel that back a little bit, you were kind of living the life that others expected you to live, or so you thought.
Right. Which is crazy, but yes, I have to admit that.
Okay. So what was church like? You came in on your first Sunday and you got, you're super anxious, asking questions like, well, do I stand up in worship? Do they have snakes? Do we raise our hands? Whatever is going through your mind, because you had never really been to church. I mean, you said like growing up that you might have went to church a couple of times with your grandmother, but like coming into church was a new thing to you. You had an idea, but you didn't really know.
Right. What was it like?
Yeah, what was it like?
I was completely intimidated, but did not want to be doing it. But then here comes Gwen. Meet and greet.
So wait, Gwen, the woman that met you over a year earlier.
At least probably, yes.
Okay.
Remembered my name that day. And it just, because you don't think people are going to remember you. You want people to, but you think people are going to remember you for the mistakes you make, the decisions you make, the horrible decisions you make. And someone who had no idea just remembered my name that day.
So I think one of the things that when you shared that with me that's powerful is your whole life you had put up a wall because you had labeled yourself. And you walk in here with the burdens and the things that you're holding on to, the strings that are attached to you because of the sins that you've made and the choices you've made. And Gwen doesn't call you by those sins. She calls you by your name, who you are. It reminded me of, I've heard this saying, Satan knows our names, but he calls us by our sins. And Jesus knows our sins, but he calls us by our name. So what did that do for you by Gwen saying, "Hi, Ashley"?
It just broke down walls. It just made you feel like somebody.
Made you feel like
where you didn't feel like you would.
Maybe you were valuable.
Yeah.
Like you had worth.
Yeah.
Like you were a person.
Like she didn't have to know my name, and she did. Makes you feel good.
Okay, so let's go a little bit forward. What were you thinking after that moment, your first Sunday here at TCC, where Gwen meets you, she greets you, she recognizes you? Were you thinking like, oh, this is the place where I need to be? Is this a place where I feel like I'm welcomed and want to be? Or is this a place that I'm ready to leave? Like, what did that set up for you?
Became the place that I didn't want to just drop and run.
You no longer wanted to drop and run.
Yeah.
So you wanted to become a part of what?
A part of everything, church and people.
So tell us then. Go ahead.
I was going to say another thing about why TCC. This has been the hardest thing for me to do. Good gosh. To get up here on stage and even talk, no less try to tell my story. But I have had like 15 people reach out to me this week. Praying for you. You got this. Who know this is like, whew.
So you're talking about the support that the church
support,
has.
the support, yeah.
See, one of the things that's interesting, when we become a body of believers, like we are brought into the kingdom, and we are a body of many parts. It's not one person. It's not the preacher. It's not an elder. It's not a church leader or the most well-known person in the community that attends this church, whatever that is. Like we are one body. And it's not just one church. That's why we pray for all the churches in our area, because it's not just TCC that's getting people to heaven. It is First Baptist. It is First Assembly. It is the churches in our area. We all have one goal, and that's to unite the body of believers into Christ and to bring more into Christ. And it's not about one church that does that more than the other. We are on one mission together. And you walked in, and by one welcome, one greeting, you felt like you were a part of that. You were invited into that. So where's your Jesus story? Did you get baptized that day?
No.
Okay.
No. I love this story. So I was driving home from Anadarko,
Which you own the
which I own the nutrition club there.
Yeah, okay.
I think it's 81. I always get these roads confused. It's either 62 or 81 coming this way.
I'm not from here, so it can be either one
Good
of
deal.
them.
So there's railroad tracks, and there was cars going every direction. Like I just seen the cars going from each side, coming towards me, going away from me. I was like, I'm done. I'm ready to give my life to Jesus. I'm done. Because I just felt like I was still all over the place. And I called Josh and told him, and he had just gotten off the phone with Neil, telling Neil the same exact thing. So we were baptized on January 24th.
That's awesome.
Of 2017.
You guys were making a decision. God was working on both of your
At the
hearts
same time.
simultaneously, but you guys really weren't talking about where that was going on.
No, we were in two totally. I know where I was. I don't know where he was. But we were on the phone afterwards talking about it.
That's huge. So, here we have a person that walks through our doors that is simply greeted, and that greeting didn't save Ashley, but that greeting took down a wall that you had held up for over 15 years. Like over half of your life had spent keeping everyone away. Now, that's not really the person that I see today. I mean, trust doesn't seem to be a huge struggle. Actually, when I look at you, I see you serving, whether it's right there greeting people, whether it's Wednesday nights, behind the scenes on a Friday afternoon, setting up chairs. So tell us a little bit about, why do you serve so much, and why are you so committed to serving others in our community?
So I like to serve, so that way, for the coffee bar. Oh wait, I can't move the microphone with that hand. The coffee bar, for instance, like being there, or when I was doing greeting at the door, was being that person who can help someone like me get through that door easier, to feel more comfortable, to feel welcome, and just show them it's gonna be okay. Do what Gwen did for me.
That's awesome. See, I don't know if you guys know this, but Ashley's actually our team leader for our coffee area. And so she's here every morning, 8 a.m., making sure that the coffee's ready to go. She's scheduling that team. She's talking with that team, making sure, hey, we greet people, and here's why we do it. Wednesday nights, you help teach and fill in. You're literally like a substitute. Is that?
I'm a teacher.
You're a teacher,
right?
So
teacher.
So you have a class every Wednesday night that you teach. What age group?
First and second grade.
First and second grade. So you teach Abram, my son. He's a first grader.
Yes.
And I mean, like a few weeks ago, Christy was going to be gone, and you came in here and you cleaned the building. Like, whether it doesn't matter what capacity it is, you are now keeping your eye out for opportunities to serve, because you know how vital it is for someone walking in the building to have that first time experience that takes down a wall that has held them back for their entire life.
Yes. Yeah. You have to be there. Like, I don't know that I would have ran out of the church that day. I don't know that I would have came back that next Sunday either, if that makes sense. I want people to know it's okay to be fearful. It's okay to be scared. It's okay to show up and think you're going to be judged. We're going to love you through it.
So that day that you walked in, you didn't have to share the gospel and open up to anyone, but a welcome greeting made you feel a part of something.
Yes.
So today, as we wrap up, the band can head back up. I've been reading through Luke, and as I was preparing this week and been talking with you, one of the stories in Luke really just kind of stood out to me, and it was because Jesus noticed. And so you've got this crowd of people. Jesus is walking around, and he's got his disciples with him. He's actually on his way to heal a child that is deceased. He's dead, and so Jesus is on his way. He's got this group of people that are around him, and there's a lady. And this lady, Scripture says that she'd been bleeding, she'd been hemorrhaging, and she had spent all of her savings and given everything that she had to try to fix this. And she had heard about Jesus' healing power, and she would have been humiliated at what she needed help for, what she needed healing for. And so, as Jesus is walking, she thought, if I could just touch him, I'll go unnoticed and I'll be healed. But the problem is that in that crowd and in that moment, as soon as she touched Jesus, he saw her. Not physically. He didn't see her because he turns around and goes, "Who touched me?" But he felt and he knew that in that crowd, in that moment, that no matter what blemish we have or what sins that we have or what is going on in our life, what kind of thing that has broken us to a point that is so humiliating that we can't share it, when she touched him, he healed her. Just like he healed you. As we enter into our worship time in just a moment, we're going to have a time of communion, and you can go get that. It's back there on the coffee bar if you didn't get that on your way in, and you can take that in a second whenever you're ready. But as we go into our time of worship, think about that for a moment. We all have sins. We've all made terrible decisions, and some have larger consequences and carry more weight in our lives than others. But we all are, if we sat up here and shared our stories, we all have secrets that we're ashamed of. We all have regrets and things that we don't want others to know. And in that moment, we still have an identity. Jesus has saved us from that. Jesus has saved us from that, just like he took your story, 15 years sober now. You're sitting on a stage, and God is working through you in the hearts of others. Ashley, I want to pray for you. I want to pray over you. And we're going to go ahead and you guys can stand as we get ready to worship. But just know that our story is not finished. It's just started. Jesus can change the hardest of hearts, and he washes away the most silly decisions that we can make and heals all the brokenness in us. Let's pray. God, I thank you for Ashley. I thank you for her courage, Lord, to stand up here and share her story. God, it's a story that you stepped in and you redeemed. Lord, I thank you for her heart and her willingness to serve you, and just the boldness that she can have to stand up here and proclaim your word. God, I pray that you just continue to go before her in conversations that are to come, and just give her opportunities to continue to share a story that you have made beautiful out of the ashes. Lord, I lift up our congregation to you, God, as we all struggle with different things and have different stories. And I just pray that you give us the courage to surrender. It's in your son's name.